From the center of the universe, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, this is the SDM Show with your host, Rob Cairns. The SDM Show focuses on business, life, productivity, digital marketing, WordPress, and more. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. Here is Rob.
Hey everybody, I'm Rob Cairns. I'm the founder, CEO, and chief creator of Amazing Ideas at Stunning Digital Marketing. In today's show, I have Sabir Semerkat with me, and Sabir and I are going to talk all about e-commerce. This is one show you don't want to miss. Grab a drink, sit back, relax, enjoy the show. The SDM Show is brought to you by Stunning Digital Marketing, the digital marketing concierge that helps you put all your marketing pieces together. We are your marketing experts. We are also your WordPress security experts and know how to lock down a website and protect yourself from bad actors. So contact us at Stunning Digital Marketing today. Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here. And today I'm here with my guest, Sabir Semerkat. How are you, Sabir?
Rob, thank you for having me on your show.
No, it's such a pleasure. And we're going to talk all about e-commerce. You're coming to us from the New York City area, Long Island, correct?
Lifer, a New York lifer.
It's okay. I didn't share this with you. We're talking my partner and their cousins. They always do a pre-Christmas trip, and usually they do Ontario. And this year they did New York City. So.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Well, I'm not. I wasn't there, so it's okay. So e-commerce, the buzzword. I think it became more on people's radar when COVID hit, wouldn't you say?
Oh, I would say the pandemic was a blessing for e-commerce. I would go even beyond that. Like I would, it's a horrible thing to say, but I've been in the e-commerce game for a long time, 25 plus years now, right? And what I was seeing that growth coming, I was seeing it probably in 2032, 2035. It just accelerated in 2020. In fact, one of the statistics I'll give you, Amazon scored more revenue in Q2 of the pandemic in 2020, more revenue, a sizable more revenue than their holiday season just before.
Wow.
That's how much things grew.
Yeah. And I think it was going to happen anyway. I think we had been shifting there anyhow, but I think COVID just kind of increased the shift, made it faster, right?
A lot faster, yeah. And also just the consumer behavior, like every grandma knew how to use Zoom. Everybody knew, every father knew how to do FaceTime, Grubhub, Amazon.com. I mean, those are things that it takes a while for consumers to adapt, but the adoption rate just increased incredibly.
Yeah. So what I'll tell you is my mom's 80, and my mom used to say to me before the pandemic, can you order everything on Amazon? How come you order everything online? How come you use e-commerce? I wouldn't shop that way. Guess what, Sabir? My mother shops that way.
And she probably complains that if something that was supposed to arrive that day arrives a day later, she says, what happened? Is something wrong with Amazon?
Yeah. And we have, being in a major metropolitan area, we have more Amazon facilities. And in the West End, in Brampton, Ontario, we have one of the biggest state-of-the-art robotics factories. We've got it all here. So like getting stuff here is not an issue, let me tell you. So, but Amazon is only one part of e-commerce. It's the one everybody knows, right? Let's talk a little bit about, before we dive into specifics, platforms. I take it you prefer Shopify as a platform versus other platforms, or is
I've worked across all the platforms, including actually even with Amazon. To just kind of close that topic, I even helped launch the third-party marketplace. That's how much of an OG I am in the e-commerce field. As far as Shopify goes, Shopify is one of the most adopted platform by entrepreneurs. It's the most popular platform that you can find a lot of e-commerce stores on, and then you have the likes of WooCommerce and Magento and several others.
Yep. Yeah, I would, and for those who don't know, Shopify's Canadian. They're based out of Ottawa, Ontario, actually. So
Yeah,
they
that's
are
a Canadian product. Yeah.
a Canadian product and publicly traded. And no, I'm not trying to turn this podcast into a trade mess. That's for the
So other
political
people are doing a
podcast.
better job at that than us.
Oh, I want no part in that. So, you know, it's true. But yeah, so Shopify's one, Woo's the other one, and then I kind of think everything is kind of everything else, right? Sort
Oh
of
yeah, there are
online.
hundreds of platforms. There are even very niche platforms, e-commerce platforms that exist out there. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, in terms of e-commerce, uh, I think companies not jumping online in today's marketplace is a mistake. I really
Huge,
do.
huge
If you're
sin.
retail,
It's a huge sin.
yeah,
Forget about mistake. Mistake was 10, 15 years ago. In 2025, it's a sin. If you
yeah,
are in any kind of, if you're a brand or if you're a retail business, not having an e-commerce site is no longer just a tiny mistake, is a gigantic sin.
yeah. I would agree. It was funny. I was in and I want to talk about products. Some products do really well on e-commerce. Electronics does well, household goods does well, replacement parts for appliances does really well, believe it or not. Things like that. There's all kinds of them. Products that have a tough time online. Glasses. We both wear glasses. Glasses. I was talking to my optometrist last year. By the way, I buy my glasses online. I'll tell you that now. The
Mhm.
average glass sale in Canada is about 6% of the market is online sales, give or take, according to my optometrist. So that doesn't do well. Clothes can be a tough one for some people until they figure out sizing, right? That's an issue. That doesn't always do well. What other brands have a tough time online?
So I'll tell you, every category that you said, I've skyrocketed sales in each one of those categories online. So
Yeah, I believe you.
it depends on the person's expertise. I thought that you're gonna pick on some very difficult categories, but the ones that you picked on, is sizing an
Thanks.
issue in those categories? Absolutely. Prescription glasses is an issue. Would it fit my face? My face is more oval than yours is more
Yeah. Yep.
skinnier like that, right? So there
Yep.
are challenges with that, but there are so many things that you could do to actually help alleviate that. I mean, a gigantic brand like Warby Parker started from zero, and actually they solved that problem by saying, "Hey, pick out three different frames, free ship, free return. Keep the one that you want to keep, and then return the ones that you don't want." Zappos with shoes, size is another
Yep.
issue there, right?
Yep.
Zappos solved it by taking their marketing budget and putting it into shipping, and because that was a better customer service investment rather than doing promotional discounts or something like that, right? So
Yep.
every category that you mentioned, by the way, it's not just US. I've done this globally also, across currencies, across languages. Every one of those categories you just mentioned, I've scaled brands to the moon. There are certain categories that do have a challenge, online, and what are those? I would classify them as non-replenishable products, right? If
Okay.
you're in a category, for example, you mentioned electronics. Let's talk about home appliances, right? So
Mhm.
if you are selling refrigerators and you're selling refrigerators online, I'm not buying refrigerators every month, right? You
Yep.
have to be forever in customer acquisition mode, right? In that sort of a
Mhm.
scenario. Even that,
Yep.
you can grow those businesses, but you have to be in the mindset that, hey, we
Yep.
have to acquire these customers, and we need to figure out how to offer complementary products or complementary services that we can bring these people back to keep on buying from us. So it's not expanding your product categories, like not just being in refrigerators, but having stove tops and outdoor living and all sorts of things like that. That's within the same category. That's how you can
Mhm.
expand. Introducing things like warranties and things like that. There are always ways of growing those businesses, and there are very successful businesses along those lines. Like if you look at Wayfair, that's a furniture business, e-com business, very
Yeah.
successful. Best
Very
Buy,
well.
very successful in the kind of home appliances slash electronics. So there are many examples of that, that even in those categories, things that are not, that people buy maybe once every, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years. It's not that they're buying it every month. They have a challenge, but even those categories, though, over the past 25 years of e-commerce's history, a lot of those challenges have been solved. There are strategies, there are things that you could do to actually help alleviate those kind of problems that may have been there because it's a heavier item. How do you deliver it? Well, you could regionalize your drop off points, like your warehouses and stuff. There are ways of handling that.
Yeah, it was funny. You talk about appliances, and I think of a story. I have a good friend of mine in the middle of COVID, went through knee replacement surgery, which is
Wow.
hard enough with everything else going on. Her second one, actually.
Oh.
And I had agreed to go help her for a month because she was on her own, and we've been friends for years. And what happens in the middle of COVID? Her washing machine dies. And you talk about buying online and appliances. We dealt with a local appliance dealer. They've got a chain of stores in Ontario. And we bought this all through looking at their website and chat, 100%. And they just made the experience seamlessly. A store called Goldman's, they're well known in Ontario. They're family owned, but they get the online experience. We made the purchase on a Wednesday. By Saturday morning at 8 a.m., that machine was in her basement and installed. That's simple. And they just made it really easy because they decided to do the model properly instead of saying, oh, just give us your money and go away and we'll get you when we get you. That's not the way to do it. And, the other thing we're seeing too with buying online is a lot of hybrids. For example, Home Depot, a chain in both Canada and US.
Yep.
When COVID started, you can actually purchase stuff at Home Depot instead of shipping it. You go pick it up at the store. So we're seeing more and more hybrid type models, don't you think?
Yeah, actually, those models, there are many different ways of kind of skinning that cat, right? If you have
Yeah,
physical presence, right, there are, the most obvious one is buy online, pick up in store. Or
that's
the
what's
other
up.
way around, your store can only hold so much inventory and so much on display. But your online site could have an expanded inventory because you have access to those vendors, right? You could buy in the store, they'll order it for you, but online actually ships it to you. Or you could come pick it up from the store if you wanted to, right? There
Yeah.
are many configurations of that. You could have it be picked up by DoorDash or Uber and get it delivered to your home. You don't have to even bother going to the store to pick it up. There are mechanisms like that you can do, and Uber actually has that sort of a service that they can pick up stuff for you and deliver it to your home, so that, or even businesses can do that by doing local delivery of orders, so that you could compete against the likes of Amazon, which does same day delivery. If your warehouse actually exists in certain markets.
Yeah, it's funny you say go to the store and then order. And I actually think that's the future. We talk about that. I think of a Best Buy store. You walk into Best Buy, they have all this expensive retail space, and it's a big showroom. And then they have stuff in stock and you walk out with it. I think the day's coming where you're going to walk into Best Buy. Oh, I want that Samsung TV. Great. Give me your credit card number. Great. By the way, we'll send it to you. We don't have it here. I think that day is coming. I really do. And the furniture stores are already in that model. You walk into any of the big furniture stores, they don't have the stock in store. Everything's drop shipped. You go in, it's a showroom. You choose what you
Yeah, how
want,
much
you buy.
space would you need for that? Like
Yeah,
outdoor, indoor, bedroom, bathroom, that's a lot.
yeah.
You
And
cannot possibly put all of that on display.
we all know IKEA, right? Who doesn't,
Yeah.
right? And the
Yeah.
way IKEA works is it's gotten so bad in the GTA that there's probably 4 or 5 stores in the Greater Toronto area, but it's gotten so bad. The two of them, when you order your stuff, they don't even have it in store. You have to go to the warehouse up the street to pick it. It's gotten that bad. It's to pick it up. So if you didn't do that, you might as well just send it to me. But that's the way I look at it. Um, Okay, so we talked a little bit about that. I think if you're going to do e-commerce, the one thing I'll say to business owners is please pay attention to your checkout process. I think one of the biggest reasons that I don't buy on an e-commerce site, that people don't buy, that clients I talk to don't buy, is the checkout is too hard. And they don't want a checkout where I got to click 20 things. Wouldn't you agree, Sabir?
I think it's a lot simpler than that. Pay attention to what consumers do, right?
Yeah.
And what do they do? I mean, you're much further along in the checkout process, right? Let's start with this. Where are consumers actually shopping?
Yeah.
They're not, a lot of entrepreneurs, because they work with their web designers and they work with their team whenever they're doing their Zoom meetings, they put up their website on Zoom shared screen, and it's a nice, beautiful on a Mac, nice, gigantic desktop site, right? The fact is 72% of e-commerce happens on this.
I do it all on that.
Right?
Yep,
Pretty
I
much
agree.
this is the computer, right?
Yeah.
This is TV, this is computer, this is your buying device, this is your checkout, right?
Yeah.
And when you think about that, a lot of e-com sites, that's what they get wrong, right? They have a beautiful, gigantic on a 40-inch iMac screen. It looks beautiful, right? That's 20% of your traffic. Why are you showing me this, right? In fact, what I say is I have the authority. I'm giving permission to all of your e-com listeners to this podcast. Ignore your desktop site in 2025. Ignore it. In fact, once you ignore it and you see that I'm right, in 2026, you're not going to even talk about desktop anymore, because more than 70%, for some businesses is even higher, more than 70% of your e-commerce traffic and sales comes from a mobile device. And in fact, it's not just mobile device. You have to think about device first. Which device are they actually using? In the US and Canada, it's iPhone. Your site, from the time they click to your site all the way through the checkout, needs to be optimized for the iPhone. Number one. What's the second device? This is all available in the analytics, by the way. This is not, I'm not just rattling off stuff here. Number two is family of Samsung Galaxy devices. That's number two. And you have to optimize it for these two devices if you're in US and Canada. If you're in Europe, look at your data. Maybe there's Nokia in there. Maybe there is Google Pixel in there.
Yeah. Optimize
it for your top 2 or 3 devices, and you will see your conversion rate is going to skyrocket. And I'm going to circle back to conversion rate and tell you why that's such a BS KPI.
I know you are. I think I know where you're going, but that's another story. But I agree with you. I mean, I think about my habits, right? As a consumer, not even as somebody in the business. How do I shop? On my phone. I have a Pixel phone. I shop on my phone. If I don't shop, and I have an iPad, and I'm more likely to shop on my phone. I'm more likely, it's funny. I was out the other day. I was waiting for my partner for an appointment we had. And where did I go? To the Amazon app on my phone to buy stuff that I plan to buy.
Even though you have an iPad, right? By the way, iPad represents less than 8%, single digit, 8%, less than 8%. The other 20% comes from desktop, right? So tablet and desktop, same list, ignore it.
No, I say I have an iPad, but for me, the iPad is a consuming device, not a shopping
you
device.
watch your YouTube, you read your Kindle, you if you have magazines that you're reading, that's what you use iPad for most of the time.
Exactly. And I agree. I mean, people don't do. I look at the number of homes right now that don't even have computers. So I take my partner's computer. Her parents are 79 and 86. She's Italian, so she lives at home. That's the way it goes. And what I'll tell you is they do not have a PC or a Mac in that house at all. They have 2 iPads and a couple of smartphones, and that's it. It's just
and most of the households, most of the world, even if they cannot afford anything, they typically have this in their pocket, and this acts as their iPhone, right? Or their Android phone. Even if you are in a third world country, you have one of the lower end, maybe Android phones, right? You have that. That's your computer. That has everything in there. You can make calls. You can watch TV. You can do whatever you want to. You can do your banking on there. You could take notes. You could use it as a recorder as a college student. This is your computer. This is it. You don't have to really afford your traditional laptop or your computer and stuff like that, unless your job depends on it on a daily basis, that you have to have it in front of you.
No, I agree with you. The business has changed. I got into support over 30 years ago, and I've just seen the transition. And part of it is we're all busy, and our lives are busier today. And
Yeah.
if you're running around or even commuting and you're not driving, well, guess what people are doing on the way to work on commuter trains? They're making their orders, they're checking their emails, they're doing stuff all on their phone. So yeah, there's no question. If I had a product, let's choose a widget, and we'll choose Acme widgets from Bugs Bunny just because I can.
I actually
We know
use Acme Soap Company as a fictional company.
Yeah. And Acme, Willie Coyote, and the store, and every time
That's the reason actually
me,
I use it. Some people smile when I mention that, and they get the reference. The younger folks may not,
Yeah.
Even though I look young, I'm not that young, by the way.
Yeah, I'm up there with you, so I'm there. So we take a widget, and I want to scale that. How do we do that? How's the best way?
So here's the thing. Scaling is such a tricky thing, right? This is where, when I've scaled companies from zero or even before zero, pre-launch, right? All the way to $1 billion in e-commerce. That's my range. I've done all of it, And what I have learned is that when you go take a concept, right? Acme Widget Company, you and I just started this new Acme Widget Company, right? We want to catch this. Acme Widget Company makes a widget that catches roadrunners, so we're Wile E. Coyotes. So let's make the product real, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we take this roadrunner catcher widget that we created, going from zero to, let's say, that first $100,000, right, is tough, because foundationally you're building up your company, you're building up your marketing, you're building up the foundation. Not only you're trying to sell this product that you created, there's a lot of stuff that goes into having a business, right, that you need to build up, right? You're trying to do that, and you're also figuring out your messaging, you're figuring out your marketing, you're figuring out, does it actually catch the roadrunner 76% of the time, or is it 100% of the time? Yeah. Is this roadrunner catcher better than any other roadrunner catcher that's sold by 20,000 Amazon sellers on Amazon.com, right? Those are the things that you're learning about that. And also, as an entrepreneur, you're learning about yourself to understand that, like Rob and Sabir are incredible product designers, right? We're not marketers. We're not.
That's right.
Not knowing in that 0 to 100K, knowing what you're not is really critical. Pretending.
And I would agree with you. I just
know it. You're gonna be, that's gonna be dangerous, right? From 100, let's fast forward 100 to 500. You're gonna take some of that learning. You're gonna try scaling it. You're gonna hit a gap at 500. What is that gap? Yeah. It's always a knowledge gap. You always hit a knowledge gap because you don't have it, and you don't even know who to hire. That's the other problem, right? You think you have this problem, but you don't know how to solve this problem. From 500K to 1 million, these are all gaps that you hit, right? At 1 million, what got you there? From 500 to some people get stuck at 750 also, but at 1 million, they get stuck. From 1 million, you figured it out, you're happy. It moves along 3 million, you're going to hit another gap, right? Yeah. And it's a skill gap. It's your knowledge gap. It's the know-how, even the stuff that you created. Maybe you need to expand your product portfolio. You need to expand your marketing. Maybe you need to expand the use case of your product that you create as Roadrunner. Does it only catch Roadrunners? Can I also, let's go with another classic, Woody Woodpecker. Would it catch Woodpecker? So from when you get to that million to 3 million, 3 million to 10 million, from 10 million to 15 million, 15 to 25, 25 to 50, 50 to 100 million. At every one of these stages, you go through a tremendous amount of learning in your business, in even as an entrepreneur yourself, and also understanding the kind of the foundational infrastructure you need to build at every one of these stages. This is one of the reasons, I authored this 8D method, which is 8 dimensions of e-commerce that you need to build, and you need to build the right foundation in your business that helps you grow and scale profitably, all the way from zero all the way to $1 billion.
And what are those 8 foundations since you've gone there?
So there are 8 dimensions. So it's not,
dimensions.
because most people,
Yeah.
what it addresses is like, most Shopify business owners, the very first thing that they do is they're taught and they're brainwashed. After you build your Shopify store, you got to go get your Meta Ads account, because that's how you're going to drive traffic, right?
No.
No. Most Shopify businesses, even in that first 0 to 1 million, that's what they're doing, right? And that's not the right thing to do. Your over reliance on one single channel. What happens when Apple decides, not even Meta, Apple decides to do an iOS 14 update?
We've all been there. Yeah.
Goodbye bankruptcy, and they're bankrupt, right? Unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's why, when we are talking about these 8 dimensions, you have to optimize all these 8 dimensions, and over reliance on a single channel is a gigantic sin. You don't want to do that in e-commerce. There are so many organic channels. There are other paid media channels that you need to incorporate, so that it's not, iOS 14 is not the last update that happened. There is AI update that's happening on a weekly basis with Meta, right? The ad delivery is suffering because of it. Your ROAS is suffering because of it. And if you don't know how to pivot from that, right? And sometimes the pivoting could be your insurance policy with Google Ads, or your insurance policy with email marketing with Klaviyo. There is a lot of things like that you need to really be smart about that, and we can dig into the 8 dimensions.
Yeah. Before we go into the 8 dimensions, what I would say to you is I agree 100%. Whether it's e-commerce or even any other business, putting all your eggs in one basket is absolutely insane. That is not covering your risk. That is not looking forward. That is basically saying, and where we're starting to see it now in North America is the brouhaha over TikTok. There's all kinds of creators panicking right now because is it in a week? At the time of this record, the U.S. government's, if it's not sold, it has to come down. And these creators are all panicking. Why? Because they've put their eggs all in one basket. I know it's not e-commerce, but it's
Do you remember that Saturday night when it happened?
Yes.
There were TikTokers crying and saying goodbye on TikTok.
Yeah. Because they have.
And that Saturday evening, then let's say Trump, turned that thing around and said, okay, you know what, we're going to let it go. But they have this deadline to meet.
Yeah, they do. So the point I'm making, though, is it's the same problem. If you put all your business into one eggs in one basket, and something happens, you're in trouble. And that's exactly what we're talking about, right? So
yep. And e-commerce does not necessarily mean it's all digital marketing. It doesn't. That's the other misunderstanding a lot of entrepreneurs have, that if, let's say, if they exhaust all 10, 12, 15 channels of e-commerce, right? If they exhaust that, that's it, game over. And all they have to do is keep on paying the piper, right? Meta ads, Google ads, influencer marketing, affiliate marketing, just keep on paying it in order to continue growing it. You know what? Before e-commerce, there was direct marketing. And before direct marketing, there was TV marketing, right? Infomercial, right? They are not dead. They are highly effective channels for growing your business also. So this is where, when we talk about being a multi-dimensional game, that's what it actually means. It's not just limited to only the ecosystem of e-commerce that you think that your business has to live inside of. Like Warby Parker started out as an e-commerce business. Now it's a multi-channel retailer.
Yep. They actually have brick and mortar stores. There's one here. There's one in a major shopping mall in Toronto. A couple of them. Yep. What's the luggage chain? you're
Oh,
gonna hit
Timo?
me. No, they've also gone in the stores. They were online, Way or Hey or one of those. And there's another one. It'll come to me. Mattress companies have done that too. The online mattress companies, they're now in retail stores as well, or partnered with existing bedding mattress type companies. So they're playing
Or
that
even
game as
bigger
well.
department stores carry products like Purple Mattress, you know? That's a popular
Yeah,
brand, mattress brand. Yeah.
yeah, that's what I was saying. So they're all looking at multi-dimension approach too. Let's dive into the 8 things. Where where do you want to start with your framework?
Let's start with dimension one. That's a good
Yeah,
place to start, right?
what is dimension one?
Dimension one is performance optimization. Takes
Okay.
about 6 weeks because here's the thing. You as an e-commerce business owner, you have already invested in a marketing stack and a tech stack. You have already done that,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So the first dimension is I'm not asking you to do anything new. But what I'm going to do in that first dimension, I'm going to squeeze out an elephant out of an ant's butt. That's what I'm going to do. You think that your site is optimized. You think that your email is
Yeah.
optimized. You think that your paid media is optimized. It's not,
No.
right? And we have had people that raise their hand during my workshop and say, hey, where would you score 1 out of 10, right? Where would you score yourself, right? They go like, oh, I think as far as performance optimization, I think we're like a 7 out of 10, right? And then
Uh-huh.
they joined the program. And within the first week, I squeezed out 79% growth out of that business. Well, like, where did this growth come from? We thought that we had
Yeah.
optimized it. We paid XYZ last year just before Black Friday to do this optimization for 10, 15K, right? Like, what did they
Yeah.
do? I don't know. You hired them. What did they do? If I'm able to squeeze out 79%, or actually our average is about 103.34% in the first 6 weeks
Yeah.
of that performance optimization, right? Like, what did you actually do? What did you spend your money and time and energy on that you think that you optimized your business? So the first 6 weeks is everybody goes through it. It's performance optimization. It's looking
Okay.
at the very first thing we look at, site and landing pages. Because
Yep.
regardless of how you drive your traffic, that's where people land on. It's
I
Shopify,
agree.
right? We need to make sure that everybody, 100% of your traffic has an amazing experience. And what do I optimize it for? Consumer attention span, right?
Yep.
It's not checkout process. It's not this, it's not that. It's consumer attention span. In 2025, Rob, the consumer attention span is 1.7 seconds.
Oh, I know it's awful. And by the way, it's getting worse by the day.
Right? When I
I
started my
make
career, it was around 15 seconds,
Yep.
25 years ago, right? Now in 2025, it's 1.7 seconds. And who you got to thank? You named them just now. TikTok is the first culprit. Instagram is the next one. Third one, Amazon app. These three. They
And
have
then
fine-tuned your attention span as a consumer to
yeah,
1.7 seconds to ignore things. If it doesn't make a point in under 1.7 seconds, let's go.
no
Move.
question. No
That's
question.
it.
No question.
Not
No,
interesting, not interesting, not interesting.
not
And you
it's
keep on
like
scrolling.
yeah, it's so true.
So that's what we do
It's
in that first 6 weeks. We optimize your site experience to 1.7 seconds.
yeah, that's incredible. What is the second dimension?
Second dimension is pricing.
Okay.
And pricing does not mean couponing to death. That's the other sin a lot of e-commerce business owners do, right?
Why did they do that? I've never
Give me your
figured that
email,
out.
I'll give you 15%. Give me your SMS, I'll make it even better, 20%.
So
If you
let me stop.
abandon your
Let
cart,
me
I'll give you 30%. If you shop with me on Black Friday, 50, 60%, right? Where's all this money coming from?
Yeah.
Like,
So let me stop you there. I want to share with you a story if I can. So I
please.
have an online flower retailer who I love. And I also have a corporate account, which is great for me because I get 25% off. And between you and I in the four walls, 90% of those flowers go to my partners. So it doesn't matter however I do this. And I have figured out that if I don't check out my checkout process right away and I wait an hour, they're going to send me a coupon for 30% off on top of
Patience
my
pays,
discount.
huh?
Yeah, and I have figured this out. So every time I order for, and I'm awful, I will wait an hour and I will get in my email saying, if you come back and finish your order, we'll give you 30% on top. How do they make money? I don't get it.
Without fail, they do that, right?
Yeah,
And if you're a smart consumer, you go like,
yeah,
okay, let me add it to cart. I'm not in a hurry. I'll come back to it 3 hours from now.
yeah,
And
exactly.
they'll give me, I'm not in a hurry. I'll just get it when they give me an offer, right?
Exactly.
Because you
Exactly.
know what has happened? All these bad actors have actually trained the consumer on that behavior.
Yeah,
You're literally, you know, where you have heard you're training your customer to wait
yes,
for the sale. That's
I wait.
exactly what it is. That's literally now they are trained. Just like I know
Yeah,
that 1.7 seconds is their attention span.
yep,
It's your fault as a business owner. You trained
yeah,
them and you're playing that game to say that, okay, you know, if I do that, but there are ways to get around that, you know, and that's what we cover in pricing so that you
yeah.
actually what one of the shocking things that happens to a lot of businesses that go through the pricing dimension is they end up actually increasing their prices, minimizing their promotions, and they grow their top line and their bottom line
Oh, well.
during that month. Yeah, in one
Oh,
month.
good.
When we
Yeah.
tackle that and we optimize do pricing optimization, that's what ends up happening. You know, we have numerous examples like Oram Brothers. You know, stuck at $1.5 million for many years, for several years, right? And mounting losses, they were just kept on couponing and trying to get
Mm.
people to buy from them, right? When we went through and we implemented the pricing optimization and much more smarter and limiting the number of promotions, that business we surpassed $1.5 million by September 9th. You know, so
Wow.
everything from September 9 through December 31st was pure growth. But that's not the story doesn't stop there. Their gross margin, even when we were doing Black Friday, was gross margin percentage was higher than the full price selling that they were doing prior to the
Oh,
pricing
wow.
increase.
Yeah.
So, and we concluded the full year, they were stuck at 1.5 million, which we surpassed September 9th. We ended the year at $3 million.
Wow.
And this year, January 1st, we set the plan to be $10 million a year. So we want to more than 3x that business this year.
Yeah. So the third dimension, what's
Third
that?
dimension, customer journey.
Yeah, I agree.
So I got the site to be fine tuned to your consumer attention span.
Yeah,
I got my pricing right so that I can stay in business and not go bankrupt. That's number two.
good. Yeah,
Three,
well,
now when you come to my site, and when I say your consumer journey, it starts from that first click. It could have been an external blog article. It could be social media. It could be anything. It could be your ad, right? The journey starts from there and it goes all the way through checkout and beyond checkout. So the relationship does not stop after I get your credit card. Because there is another problem in that customer journey. Let's say I'm really successful in completing this one transaction. More than 70% of Shopify businesses are they have one hit wonders. You know, Rob, songs like Macarena and Mumbo
yeah,
number five, right? One hit
yeah,
wonders, right? That's
I
that's
agree.
another 90s reference, right? So one hit
Here we go
wonders.
again.
There are customers in your database. There are one hit wonders. They in their lifetime they placed only single order, and most Shopify businesses, 70% to 100% of their customer base is one transaction.
Wow.
They're operating a transactional business. There is no repeat business in a lot of Shopify businesses. So this customer journey in the third dimension optimizes that life cycle of recency, frequency, monetary value. So we get them to go from 0 transactions, email sign up, SMS sign up, right?
Yeah.
To making that first transaction. When they make that first transaction, we want to get them to become a 2-time buyer. from 2-time buyer to 3-time, 3 to 4. So from 16th time to 17th time, and on and on and on. That's covered in the customer journey optimization.
Yeah, I would agree. Most people don't know what their customer journey is, and that's in any business, and that's a problem.
So, a lot of Shopify business owners don't understand what RFM or lifecycle marketing is.
Yeah,
and that's
of
fact.
course they don't.
And even if they know what that's supposed to be, they don't know how to turn it into actually a numerical thing they can put it into a spreadsheet to say, how many new customers did I acquire this month? How many of them went from 1-time buyer to 2-time buyer? How much do they spend in their lifetime? How much did they spend in the past 12 months? They have no clue of any of that data.
And it's funny when you talk about that, because one of the things we try and do is if you're taking orders online. So I think of a spa or a hair salon. It's still e-commerce, but it's a hybrid because you got to go in to do your service. So I consider that a bit of a hybrid. And I know the spa I go to, if I go in every 4 weeks and they know that, I guarantee you at 2.5 weeks, they're sending me an incentive to increase my frequency, because that's where you go from 1 to 2 to 3 too. So they're smart. They're sending me some incentive to say, and it might not be a coupon. It might be, oh, we'll give you 15 more minutes. We'll throw in something.
Value adds. The value adds. It doesn't have to be a promotional discount.
I actually prefer the value add over as a customer than a promotional discount, personally.
Because in your head, you're thinking that extra 15 minutes. Imagine if the massage was for 30 minutes and now it's 45 minutes. Well, like, oh my God, I'm going to get 45 minutes. Or maybe on your massage, they will add on 15 minutes of reflexology, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to get to experience it. And if you like it, what are you going to do? You go like,
I'm going to go buy
the full reflexology.
package.
Can I add that on to my next appointment? I want to have that. Oh, we only sell it, but that was only complimentary for 15 minutes. We actually do it for 30 minutes and it costs this much. We can add that on to your appointment. Would you like that?
Yep.
You just experienced it. It's great. You're going to go like, yes, I would do that, right? The same applies to products. Most consumers don't know, and they want to be guided along that purchase decision to see what exactly they should be buying. And the e-commerce businesses that actually help through that customer journey score big time. And the ones that they just keep it to add to cart and it's just one product page, lose people, because either it's that product or not that product. It's very binary. But you want to make that analog. You want to make that experience analog. So that's what we cover in the third dimension.
And what's the next dimension, the fourth one?
Number 4, marketing and storytelling.
Yes.
Consumers buy stories. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. When you hear that XYZ used this product and this is how they used it and how great it was for them, right? 100. That's part of storytelling. That consumers are not buying, they're not buying widgets like this. They're buying the benefits of this widget, right?
Yep.
And that's where marketing and storytelling comes into that picture. And if it's a founder-led company, founder's point of view is a very effective storytelling.
And the founder,
I went on this hunt to find the best gemstones that anyone can find. I found this cave that was cultivating, getting these gemstones out. And when we were working with a refinery, it refined that stone to find the exact perfect cut. I'm the founder. I'm saying that on camera. I'm putting it on my product page. I'm putting it on the social media. I'm putting it on my ads. And in fact, not only am I saying it, now I got my customers telling that testimonial. I've never seen that sort of a ring ever in my life. It glistens every time light hits it, right? That's part of very effective marketing and storytelling. And there's an art and science to doing that. And that's what we cover in the 4th dimension.
Yeah, that's so interesting because I don't think enough founders share their stories.
You don't even know. And when you ask them, like, why aren't you sharing your story? But I don't think Procter & Gamble does that, or Johnson & Johnson does that. Yeah, Johnson & Johnson and Procter & Gamble are multi-billion-dollar companies, right? They don't have to do that anymore, right? Johnson & Johnson existed at one point. Procter and Gamble existed. Hewlett and Packard existed. Those are human beings, right? They actually existed, right?
You know,
But and they did the thing that I'm telling you you need to do right now because you're not any of those brands, right? You need to do it. And once they understand that, there's a shyness with the camera and stuff like that, but that dies within the first 10 videos.
10 videos, yeah. It's funny when you mentioned stories from brands. I was thinking, as you were mentioning Procter and Gamble, I was thinking about Kellogg's, and we all know Kellogg's.
Yep.
Did you know that Kellogg's was founded by a gentleman by name of Dr. Kellogg, who was a psychiatrist, and he used to give his students the cereal so they had something to eat before their all-day appointments? Did you know that story?
There's actually a movie about it called Wellville.
I have not seen
And
it.
he had a wellness center in upstate New York, right?
Yeah.
And it was him and his brother, and
Yes.
he was the doctor that actually came up with it with the Kellogg cereal, to
Yeah.
actually help people with like GI problems and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And cereal was meant to be for sick people, right? And his brother went like, well, this is also a convenient food, so he spun it off and created Kellogg's. And his brother actually, and the doctor was actually pissed at his brother for taking something that was very medicinal for a very specific segment and turned this into, oh, this is for lazy people who don't want to spend time making breakfast.
So fascinating. Dimension number 5. What do we have?
So we got our story right. Consumers are believing us. We made it very smooth for them to buy from us. So that's the first 4 transactions. It's all front facing, right? Now let's go to the back, right? It's great. Now they place their order. What do you do? So the 5th dimension, logistics.
Yeah, of course.
The relationship does not end with the consumer placing an order on your site. It's when they get the package, they open it up, they use it, and they are in love with it.
Yes.
And all of that is part of logistics, including product manufacturing on the other side of it, and you managing pre-orders and stock outs and back in stock and out of stock and even delivery services. Do you think, like, because this is such an OG, free shipping, right? Everybody does free shipping. How should you do free shipping? That's a big strategic question you need to answer in your business. Just like that god awful promotional discounts, free shipping is another. That's a hard cost, by the way, compared to the promotional discount. This one you have to pay UPS, FedEx, DHL, USPS, Canada Post, UK Post, all of those people. You need to pay them to take your package and deliver it to the consumer. It's free to the consumer, not to you. It needs to come out of your pocket. But better than free shipping, offering fast shipping options. So your standard shipping could be promotional and you could do free shipping depending on a hurdle, but offering fast shipping as part of customer service is phenomenal, meaning that you're getting paid for it, not that you're doing it for free. Priority shipping, expedited shipping, so that consumers who want that thing because it's somebody's birthday and they need to get that thing because that person loves your brand and they want to make sure that they get it in time to give it for birthday, or Christmas or Mother's Day, any of those critical
I've done
events.
I've done that where I've wanted something or something for a trip and realized, oh, can I get this tomorrow? Yeah, I can. It'll cost me more. And if I really want
it,
the consumer, I just say, get it to me. The problem with the shipping is Amazon has cultured us all that shipping's included. And I know for me, I always look at stuff and say, okay, so if I go to the store, which is 25 minutes from my house and get it, what does it cost me in time? What can I be doing to make money? And what am I losing? Or should I just pay the $15 and ship it to my house? That's how I roll. And 9 out of 10 times I say, it's not worth $15 isn't worth talking. Just ship it to me and I'll pay for it. So, but I know, like, I take my 80-year-old mother, and every time she goes to order something on a non-Amazon site, she looks at me and says, why is this so expensive? I said, because
why do I have to pay for this?
That's right. Because I don't get your shipping included because you're not relying on your kid's Prime account, right? So Yeah, no, and that's the thing people don't realize. The consumer doesn't do the math in their head and say, okay, if I don't need this today and I got to go get it, that's 20 minutes to go get it. It's 20 minutes to come home. It's 20 minutes in the store. That's an hour. That's an hour of my time that I could be making X dollars instead of, and I'm worried about paying $15 to have it shipped to my house. I've got a problem, right?
Yep. Yep. And
That's
consumers,
kind
here's the thing, also the fast shipping options, strategically, you could also reward the right people, right?
Yeah.
If you are an avid shopper of this brand, right, of my brand, right, and I recognize it, and I call you a VIP customer. For the
Yep.
VIP customer, Rob, when you place an order, no problem. I'm gonna just give you priority shipping. So I want to make sure that you're happy within 2 days you receive my package, right?
Yep.
If you are a platinum customer, so even the next level up, you're a gold customer, and there's another person that's Cynthia is a platinum customer. Whenever Cynthia places an order, I'm going to expedite that order so that she gets it tomorrow, because I know that she buys 17 to 20 times a year from me, right?
Yeah.
So I would expedite it. And why? Because I don't want her to leave my brand. I want her to keep on buying from me because she gives me amazing testimonials, reviews, all the things. She's playing my game and she's making me highly profitable. And I don't have to go, because what if I lose Cynthia? What if I lose Rob, a gold customer, a platinum customer? Replacing that with another person, I need to figure that out to get them from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3 to
Yeah.
before they get to 15, 16, 17. That costs a lot more. It's a lot cheaper for me to give you a priority shipping. It's a lot cheaper for me to give them expedited shipping and earlier access to new arrivals, earlier access to Black Friday. There are things like that you have to be smarter about also. And that touches both the logistics of supply chain and order fulfillment, but also customer fulfillment and customer service too.
So true. The sixth dimension. Now
No,
that
it's
we've
seven.
talked about
Tech.
seven.
Number
Sorry.
seven. Number seven is tech. Tech optimization. Yes. So you remember in the first dimension, we did performance optimization, right?
Yep.
I didn't touch anything. How can I do this even better, Sabir? Right? So the seventh dimension is tech. In the seventh dimension, what we are doing is looking at that gap that I told you about when you go from 1 to 3 million. It's not only a knowledge and skill gap, you also have an experience gap, right? But also you need the right tech infrastructure for you to grow, right? Maybe in that first $1 million, you were living with just Shopify by itself. You would export out your orders, give it to your bookkeeper, and that's it. They will do your taxes for you, right? But from 1 to 3 million, you better have like something like QuickBooks or SAP One or whatever, something at that level. When you go up above that 3 million mark or 5 million mark, your warehouse should not be running on a very basic stuff, right? You really need to have proper things for inventory management, for cost management, a lot of things like that, right? So every part of your business needs to have the proper tech optimization, and that's what we cover in that seventh dimension of tech.
And also in that seventh dimension, I would assume you're trying to automate as much as you can to make your life easy.
Because you have learned quite a lot of lessons in the first 7, right? In the first 6 dimensions, right? So in the 7th dimension, you're trying to see, okay, I was doing these things manually, like the bookkeeper was exporting things out of Shopify. How can I do this better, right? Is QuickBooks the right answer, or do I need something like NetSuite that actually pulls all of the things together so that it runs my backend fully, every aspect of it, right? So there are things like that we handle in the tech optimization.
Yeah, so true. And last but certainly not least, the 8th dimension.
The 8th dimension, people. It's your team. And when I say team, I don't mean just your full-time employees. Your team is your agencies, your freelancers, your mom that helps pack the boxes on the weekend from your garage. Right? She's part of the team, right? Actually, we have that with Oram Brothers. Actually, mom in Oram Brothers, mom actually runs operations in the back end.
Oh, wow.
And dad runs the tech. but
Oh,
the
wow.
brothers run the brand and the front end.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
So
interesting.
it's your team optimization. How do you scale? Who do you hire? When does it make sense to bring things in-house? When does it make sense to outsource? Right.
Send
And,
that
and
out.
it's not the answer is never clear cut. And depending on where you are in your journey, you need to understand that dimension so that you are, certain things you don't want to outsource, right? You want to have that domain knowledge within the company, right? But there
Yeah.
are certain things it doesn't make sense for you to insource it. You have to outsource it. It's a lot cheaper for you to do that and for you to manage scalability that you don't have to worry about it. For example, if in the logistics, when we are talking about warehouses, for example, right? If you own your warehouse, that's great. It's your facility, it's your people. But what happens on the team side of equation? Let's say you go from $100,000 per day to $1 million per day during Black Friday.
Yeah.
You need to scale your team to get those orders out. Otherwise, you're going to have screaming customers because they're not getting their gifts for Christmas to deliver. They look like bad people. And if they look bad, you look bad, So that's
right.
why you have to think about the team optimization and really do it properly in order for you to scale in a smart way. So that covers kind of the 8 dimensions. And what we do with that is that we actually have a structured implementation program called the Rapid 2X Accelerator Program. So where we actually give you a prescription every single week on what you need to implement in your business in order to completely, fully implement that dimension. Yeah. The first dimension takes about 6 weeks, and then every subsequent dimension takes about a month, except for the advanced ones. So the final 3 I just mentioned to you, logistics, tech, and team, that takes a little bit longer. But all the other ones take about a month, and you're working on optimizing each one of these optimizations, and also you keep on scaling all the other dimensions that you have learned, right? Yeah. And before everybody like panics and thinks that, oh, this is too complicated. The thing is, in the first in the first dimension, you're literally working on 3 to 5 tasks to optimize. Yeah. That's it. It's being smart about the things that you do, not just doing too many busy things.
Yeah. And what you've done really well is the 8 dimensions are basically a roadmap to increasing your business and your e-commerce sales in the long run. And that's what you've done is your company's put down a nice roadmap for the business.
It's a compounded growth, both top line and bottom line.
Yep. I can see that. That's been an amazing conversation today. Really appreciate it, Sabir, like so much. Is there any other quick tips you should throw out there about e-commerce?
I mean, what I would recommend for folks to do is actually, if they head over to the URL, I mean, the website that I'll give, if you could include that in the show notes, right? Sure. In the description and such. It's growthbysabir.com/stunning digital, just like the podcast, right? So /stunning digital. When they go there, I have case studies there. I have detailed walkthroughs. There are testimonials. They can hear from their fellow entrepreneurs about what their experience has been, right? And there's an apply button there. They can apply to the program. We are actually very strict about who we accept into the Rapid 2X program, right? Because it has to be the right fit of both the personality of the entrepreneur and also where their business is at this stage, right? Because there are always 2 types of entrepreneurs in my book, right? There are entrepreneurs that they say that, who do I need to hire? I just need to go hire an agency to do XYZ, right? And they kiss a lot of frogs, and a lot of them tend to be pretty toxic frogs with a lot of mistakes with money as well as time, right? And the problem is with that type of an entrepreneur, they're not interested in learning the process. And here's the thing, you have to learn the process and you have to respect the process, which brings me to the second type of entrepreneur that we do accept into the program are the ones that they literally put the blinders on during the program. And they say that I'm going to implement whatever Sabir is telling me. And the program is highly prescriptive. So I'm literally telling you, these are the 5 tasks I need you to do Monday through Friday. That's it. Don't ignore everything else. Everything else is a distraction. I just need you to do these 5 things, right? Yeah. And that entrepreneur, a great example of that. I mean, besides Oram Brothers, there are so many of them, but I would name let's say a woman entrepreneur. Her name is Lisa Denon. She had this passion of handcrafted bags, right? So
Okay.
she started this company. Within the first 6 weeks of the program, she was growing it, and she joined the program to actually have a good foundation in place. In 6 weeks, 1,400% improvement in the business in revenue.
Wow.
Fourteen
That's
hundred
amazing.
percent. And now she's one of the OGs, right? Now she's anniversarying that ridiculous growth she experienced. Right now she's growing year over year 48%.
Wow.
And her
That's
and her meta ads ROAS is at 9x.
wow. That's incredible.
For every dollar she puts in, she gets $9. When she joined the program, again, to be fair, she was around 500 to 750K. Now she's like multi eight figure brand, and it's not
Yeah.
that long ago. I'm talking about last year, right? That's how quickly her business grew, right? And we actually brought her in to actually give advice to other rapid 2xers who are currently in the program and they're going through the journey, right? And one of the more important things for her was she wanted to work less and not more. And that's another mindset that entrepreneurs need to understand. You working 18 hours a day, 7 days a week should not be a badge of honor. It should not be
No,
like I'm
it's
working
not.
hard. I'm work hard. You're working hard on all bad stuff and wrong things, right? You're wasting
Yeah.
time and wasting money. You really need to focus on the things that literally on a daily basis you should see improvement. On weekly basis, definitely. On monthly basis, you should be celebrating that you had a phenomenal month. That's what you should be doing. Not that you're checking things off the list, hoping that to grow. And eventually, we hope that this is what I say to everyone when they start with the Rapid 2X program. I'm here to kill your hope, right? I'm not here. If you're hoping to do something, this is not a program for you. We plan things, we collect data, and we scale the hell out of it. That's what we do here.
Yeah.
There is no hoping. There is no crystal balls. There is no revenue gods that we pray to. There is no like scents or smokes or something like that we celebrate. No, it's actual data. We focus on plan, and you do 5 things a week, and we get it done. And that's how you 2x your business.
Yeah, so true. Besides going to the website, is there any other great way to get a hold of you if somebody wants to?
The site is the best resource because I have actually brought in and aggregated all of the videos. The book is on there, the AT method book, the complimentary. They can go on once they go to that link, growthbysabir.com/stunning digital, right? 3/4 down on the page, there's a call to action on the book. Because they have listened to this podcast, they're able to, on that link, they will be able to download. They can have access. My team will hook them up. And once they go through that, I would recommend for them to actually join me on one of my live workshops that I do. That's complimentary also, right? And once they hear the actual very detailed walkthrough of that on exactly what they can do, they can go and apply to be part of the program.
Right. Thanks, Sabir, for sharing all this great information. Much appreciated. And have a wonderful day, sir.
Rob, I had a blast of a time. Thank you very much for sharing your platform with me.
Me too. Thank you. This podcast has been brought to you by Stunning Digital Marketing, your digital marketing concierge to help the business owner put all his pieces together, whether it's email marketing, WordPress security, WordPress design and development, PPC, and more. Text Stunning Digital Marketing for all your digital marketing needs today. A very special thank you to Sabir for joining me on this edition of the SDM Show. The SDM Show is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns. Dad, I miss you very much every day. My mother, Ann Cairns, who's still doing really well and is an inspiration. And of course, Tiz Maroney. And Tiz, I know I've said it, but thank you so much for all the inspiration you give me every day.